All right, it's kit time, and this is a deja vu. Let's get it onto a tray, and I'll tell you why I think it's a deja vu. It's another kit with a sensor, but this is a different sensor. I think we had an MQ5 last time, and this is an MQ3. And this one supposedly is sensitive to ethanol. So that'll be interesting. I've got isopropyl and I've got ethanol, so we should be able to try both of them, see if it's sensitive to one or the other or both. I guess people don't drink isopropyl, so you might not care. Let's see here. Let's look at the schematic here. It's kind of big. Let's see. There we go. Switch, turn it on, turns on the LED. Here's a sensor. It's got a heating resistor, 5.1. That's the same. So there's voltage on this side, and it leaks across over to that side, and it goes into, interesting. This is using a 555. It's different. So it's changing the, is that right? Ground, trigger. Yeah, it's changing the threshold. So they're using the 555 as comparator, which, yeah, you can do that. So there you go, using a 555 as not a 555. I like it. It's probably cheaper than putting in a comparator, believe it or not. And then if it fires, then the LED turns on, and it looks like it might have a beeper that's self-beeping. You just put voltage on it and beeps by itself, so it won't have that obnoxious tone that other one gave. Well, who knows what obnoxiousness this one has. And then it has a relay output. Look at that. So basically, I think if you breathe into it, then it turns off the car. I don't know. Anyway, interesting little circuit. Yeah, let's build it. All right, what should we put down first? Put the flat things on. I think I heard that once before. Somebody on YouTube told me to put the flat things on first. Let me turn on my multimeter so we can test the resistance of these resistors. Because I can't read the stupid color codes, although I'm going to guess this is a 1K, but that's only a guess. And it is a 1K. All right, so I had a good guess. Lucky guess. Do you follow billiards? I'm a pretty good billiard player. And Ephraim Reyes, of course, is the greatest of all time. And he makes shots that look lucky, and of course they're not. But he always says, yeah, the more I play, the luckier I get. Yes, indeed. All right, let's check this value out. This one is 5.2 ohms, yes, otherwise known as 5.1. Right, goes there. And I'm assuming the last one is the last one, 120, looks like 120. Put that in. So, I had a video once where I mentioned an Apple story, and I had a viewer quite interested in that, saying that, I think he was from a different country. I don't know if he was from Germany or some other place. And he was interested because those types of stories don't make it over there. And so I've got three Steve Jobs stories today, 3 of them. And one of them was a I forget if he was an R&D manager or marketing manager. He was one or the other, but he was pretty far up in the, in the marketing, in the management chain of the company. And he was very fortunate. His wife was pregnant. He was having his first child. Everything was great. I mean, this should be a joyous time. And something happened at Apple, and Steve Jobs said, "Oh, you need to get on a plane and fly to Asia." And he goes, "My wife's in labor." He says, "I don't care. You need to get on a flight and fly to Asia." Steve Jobs didn't care. Just wanted the guy to go to Asia. I think the guy quit. He was either quit or fired. Anyway. Yep. So that's story number 1. Story number 2 is, this was an R&D manager. And they were building, I believe it was the Macintosh. Yeah, I think it was the Macintosh. And first prototypes came out, and Steve Jobs took a look at it, and there was a fairly heavy transformer in it. I mean, this is probably before switching power supplies. Fairly heavy power supply. And it needed to have good mechanical rigidity, and so there was a screw in from the back that went into the transformer and held everything so it would pass vibration tests and stuff. And Steve didn't like the looks of that screw. He just didn't like the looks of that screw. And okay, I mean, Apple has an aesthetic. They try to make things look nice, and he wanted it to look nice and clean. And I guess you probably could put a label over it or something like that. But Steve didn't want a label, and so he told the R&D manager, "Get rid of the screw. Next time I see this thing, I don't want to see the screw." And so some time passed, and they redid the case and came back, and they showed it to Steve, and he looked at it and looked at the back, and there's no screw. It's gone. Excellent. Well done, right? No. Steve Jobs turns it upside down, which nobody ever is going to do. Nobody will ever see the bottom side of a Macintosh. Ever. Right? And there was the screw. He had moved the screw to the bottom side where nobody would ever see it. But guess what? Steve could see it. Guess what happened to the R&D manager? He was fired. Right then and there. I told you. Steve said, "I told you I didn't want to see the screw, and I can see the screw. You're fired." That's story number 3. Number 2. Dos. Okay, so story number 3. This is from somebody I know. So all of these are stories that come from people that I know that were in the company. The other story was a design team who built. So when you design products, a lot of times you'll do mock-ups of the actual what the part's going to look like. You make it out of foam, or you make it out of plastic, or you make it out of wood and paint it to look nice and stuff. They're kind of architectural models that you do of things. So the first Macintosh probably would have been a wooden model and painted to make it look nice and everything. And anyway, so they would have those designs, and you would send them through a review process, right? Who likes what? Marketing would look at it, and sales would look at stuff, and management take a look at it. Well, Steve Jobs would need to take a look at everything because he was a control freak. Anyway, so they would have their meeting with Steve. Now, there was a rules of engagement, right? So the way that this happened was Steve's a busy man, so you need to do them in groups, right? So the teams that had things going on, they would schedule a date where all the teams would get to show their things to Steve. And it would be in a meeting room. Everybody's been in meeting rooms, and there was a big table in the center. And you were told, so if you got to attend the meeting, you were told you could come to the meeting, but you weren't allowed to sit down. You were not allowed to speak to Steve. You were not allowed to say anything. You were allowed a notebook. You could bring a notebook in and you could take notes, but that was all you could do. And you had to stand with your back against the wall. Okay, so you had to be at the far perimeter of the room with your back against the wall and silent. And then all of the models would be set up on the table. And when you were ready, then the king came in, Steve came in, and he went up to the table and looked at each thing. And he would give his opinion on each item. And he basically would say, that thing's a piece of whatever. And he would physically throw it on the floor. He would smack it off of the table and throw it onto the floor and say, that is crap. And then he would go around and just berate all of these things. And the people in the room just took their little notes as he had his tirade. And then there was one that he thought was probably okay. And his best words of the day were, that's okay, paint it white. And he left the room. Okay. Yeah. All right. Nice guy. Oh, I've got another story. Forgot. Is that number 2, number 3? That was number 2, I guess, right? Yeah. So the other story was a manager's meeting. A manager's meeting, this time you got to sit down because you were a manager, right? So, yeah. I don't know if it was the same room or not, but it was a room, and you sat down, and Steve was probably at the end of the table. I don't know for sure, but I think probably Steve was at the end of the table, and they had this meeting, and everybody discussed what was going on. And at this particular meeting, he didn't like the way things were going, and so he was going to change the course of things. And so he was going to give everybody directives. Now, that would have been easy to do. You'd just say, okay, here are my directives. You know, you do this, you do that, right? We're going to do this. And that would be it. Everybody would write it down and be on their way, and everybody would get on the train, and you'd be done. But no, that's not Steve. Steve got up and climbed on top of the table. Now, this is a meeting of all the managers, and he got up on top of the table, and he walked around to each person and put his feet in their face, basically, stood above them, looked down at them, pointed at them with his finger, and said, you're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. And then we'd go walk over to the next person, stand directly above them, point his finger and scream at them. That was Steve's management style. What a lovely place to work. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm glad I never worked there. At least not when he was there. Maybe it's gotten better. Certainly different than Hewlett-Packard. Definitely better than Hewlett-Packard. Different than Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard was very civilized. They needed to change at one point in time, though. They got to a point where they believed that the old style of management was no longer working for them. Okay, they needed to blame something, right? It was probably Asia taking over and other companies doing things quicker and stuff, but they needed to change their ways. And so they hired a consulting firm to come in and create a new way of working. Okay, no longer the HP way. We need the new way. And I didn't have to go to this meeting at the time, but my friend went to it, and he said you were required to sign a piece of paper before you went to the meeting, basically saying that you would adhere to everything they told you and you would follow everything that they told you. So before you knew what they were going to tell you, you had to sign a document saying that by attending this meeting, you will abide by what the people at the meeting say. It was the most un-HP thing I had ever heard in my life. And that was the start of the demise. That was actually at Agilent, so that was after Agilent had split off of of HP, but it was still, I mean, that's where the test and measurement side of things went, right? The other side was just computers. That had already gone bad already. Merger with Compaq and stuff, that had already gone bad. Oh well, things change. Old men grumpy on YouTube and tell war stories. So I guess that's the way it ends. We'll come full circle. All right, so we have that going to there, and that one goes to there. Do I care what one's green and what one's red? No, I really don't. But I'm going to assume that that one's red and this one's green. I'm going to make a wild guess. Live dangerously, as I say. Let's see, we want... These LEDs don't have flat spots, so that one does. Flat spot. Okay, I'm going to put that one there. If I can. Here it goes. I'm going to put that one there just for fun. Make sure the LEDs are straight before I solder the other side. Close enough. All right, there's 6 volts that goes there, I guess, and there's something over here. Oh, that's the output of the relay is there. We'll leave that tag on because it might be loud. So the reason that there's a tag on these little buzzers is because when you manufacture PC boards in volume, you send them through a wave solder process. So the solder is a bath, and they're basically dipped in the bath and solders the whole thing all in one shot. And then you do a deflux removal, you use some kind of cleaner, and then you wash them. You send them through a wash process. And the wash process is basically like a big dishwasher, and you wash them, and then you finalize them. And the little sticker says here, remove seal after washing. Okay, so that's what it means. After it goes through the wash process, then you can peel off the sticker, and now there's a hole that goes in there. They don't want water going in there and mucking it all up, but that's why the little those little stickers are on there. And in the old days, when you sent a oscilloscope or a piece of instrument or whatever to Hewlett Packard to be serviced, the first thing would do is they would pull all the cards out of the machine because they were using on cards and connectors and stuff. They would pull them out, and the first thing they would do is they would put them inside a washing machine and run them through a washing machine and clean them before they troubleshoot any troubleshooting. And if you were a design engineer, which I was, the design document, when you selected parts or you designed boards, one of the design criteria was that it should be able to withstand one wash cycle in a washing machine with Calgonite detergent. It was specifically Calgonite. I remember that. So whatever you did, it had to withstand one washing cycle, and that's because, like I said, when they brought them back for service, they would wash them. All right. 6 volts, and there's no way to solder on those little 6. Let me put a couple pins on there. I've got some long pins. I'll do that. I'll put some long ones on. All right. Drop it on the floor, maybe. All right. I'm gonna get out my blue tack. This will hold it in place while I turn it over. Solder it down. Oh. All right, well, I don't really like to look at those long pins. They're too long. But you know what you can do? You can do that, make them shorter. All right. All right, so maybe the long pins weren't a good idea. Scrap that idea next time. All right, 6 volts. It says 6 volts, so I'm going to believe them. 6 volts. All right, let me rearrange things here. Okay. Labeled plus and minus. Nice. Plus and minus. Ooh, green light. That must be the power light. Oh, oh. It says that I'm drunk. Oh my goodness. It's morning. I haven't been drinking this morning. I can even hear the little relay click. See? But I have some ethanol here, so let's get a cotton swab and dip it in ethanol. And we will bring it over to the sensor. Look at that. That was fun. Okay, that's ethanol. Let's try isopropyl. Okay, isopropyl. Yeah, doesn't matter. So don't drink isopropyl, don't drink ethanol. Isopropyl will kill you, ethanol will get you drunk. So yeah. Denatured, have you heard of denatured? Denatured is taking alcohol and making it undrinkable, adding some goo into it. So. I like it. Cool. Now I have a breathalyzer. I'll have to try it out when I have a beer sometime. But yeah, I like it. And keep the little cover on. It's the right level of loudness for my tastes. And I can hear the relay click, so that's working. And yeah, we're using a 555 as a comparator. I like it.